Hi everyone. So just through a bit of interest that was generated when I did a workshop with a group of young people a few days ago, I thought it would take a few minutes just to go through some of the ideas behind my novel Inside Iris. Some of the children, when I was answering questions towards the end, asked about what inspired the novel, and online I've just seen quite a few of the other independent authors that I follow, kind of just giving a little bit of an insight into what it was that inspired them and the story behind the novel. So what I'm hoping to do is, just through this short recording, is just to give you a little bit of an idea of how Iris came about and just why I decided to write the novel I did. When I was 18, I used to write plays, and I did so right until I was in my early 20s. Iris originally came about as a character in a play that I had written a long time ago. She was a character who was very unsure of herself, very insecure, someone who didn't really have much of a voice. The story in the play just didn't fit her, and ultimately the play didn't come to anything. I just scrapped it, but for some reason the character stayed with me. Then one evening I sat down with my laptop and sort of way late on at night, towards the early hours of the morning, and I just started to write something that was supposed to be a short story, just about a woman in a room who saw this young girl sitting almost lifeless at a table, and the first line I just came into my head was fragmented, would be the word that I would use to describe Iris when I first met her. And when it came to trying to describe the setting in the room, I just had this idea of a young girl sitting almost lifeless at a table, speaking in a very monotonic voice, because I had it in my mind that she would be sedated to the point where she was more or less just existing, not living at all. She was a young girl who was more or less having her whole youth stripped away from her. That ultimately became the first chapter of Inside Iris, and the narrator became Jade. And these two characters and the relationship between them would form the basis of the whole novel of Inside Iris. When it came to coming up with the idea for the novel, I was very much interested in the idea that antibiotics and a lot of the drugs that are around now are failing to have as much of an impact as they would have done years ago. So the fact that we have to go to the doctors and try to get an antibiotic, we're told that we need to ration them so that they don't become less effective. That was the idea behind the novel. And then, as a last resort, the government, who are the authorities, come up with a screening technique to try and see whether people within society have any useful materials that they can use in order to try and synthesize cures or treatments for some illnesses. Some of the people they test do show some of the qualities that they need, but not all. And Iris is the first one, hence where she gets her name. It's a code name that's given to her because of what the indicator shows up in the irises of her eyes. So because they go silver, it is shown that she's the prime candidate, and the government then take her and place her within the institute under the care of Dr. Rosen. Through the program at the institute that Dr. Rosen's in charge of, they are able to have some success with some of the viruses and some of the illnesses that do come about in the futuristic society that Inside Iris is set in. But ultimately, this is only a short-lived success, and this leads to more and more extreme tests being done, which lead Jade and the Resistance, led by Seth, Carl and Anya, to break Iris out of the institute and give her the freedom and the life that she's never really had. Some questions that I have been asked by young people that I've worked with in schools is, why I chose to have female protagonists. Whenever I've been working in schools, some of the conversations I've had with girls in the classes I've worked in, they've kind of felt that a lot of the time the main characters are boys or male. For me, I did see that as something as a frustration for some young girls, and I thought if I was to write a book, I would want my main character to be female. So Iris is the main character, but I do see this obviously as it being a trilogy, as being something that over the course of the 3 books, Iris will grow from being someone who is very insecure and someone who doesn't really have a voice, which is in the first book, and look, over the course of the 3 novels will grow to become a strong, independent woman, and that is ultimately what will happen by the end. Boys shouldn't be deterred from the book, which is something that I've discussed with some of the boys in the classes I've been in. You know, it doesn't matter that Iris is a girl. The story and the whole premise of the book is a young girl growing up and finding an identity, and growing up throughout the book to find an identity she never would have had without the help of Jade and others who she meets throughout the course of the 3 books. Boys as well as girls, all young people do struggle with identity. They do struggle with who they are. Everyone has. And I think at the heart of this book, the gradual growth and the gradual evolving of an identity for Iris is the key. All young people, whether it be a boy or a girl, from the ages of 11 up to towards 16, 18, and even people in their early 20s, they all can read inside Iris and find something within it that they can identify with. In general, the book has had quite a bit of positive feedback from people and positive comments. People who have read it from the age of 10 up to people in their 40s have said just how gripping the book was as a read, and it really was an excellent first novel. The book at the minute is on offer for Kindle. It is £1.99 in the UK. It is €2.99 in Europe and the Republic of Ireland, and it is $2.99 in the US. So if you do have a little bit of cash spare and Inside Iris does sound like a book that you would like to read, please download a copy and leave a review on the Inside Iris Amazon page. You can also stay in contact at my website, www.sgfiction.co.uk, on my YouTube channel, which is SG Fiction, and my various social media streams of Instagram and Twitter. They're all SG Fiction if you'd like to stay in contact with me and follow me for further content and further news. So thank you so much for listening. And if there's anything else you would like to know about what inspired the book or the background of the novel, please write a comment in the comment section below.